liberty, equality, and fraternity. The speaker today needs no introduction beyond what he is in life. Dr. Phillip Varghese is an assistant professor in the Department of Politics and International Relations, Christ Deemsby University, Delhi. He holds a PhD from Center for Political Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi. He is the recipient of the ICSSR Doctoral Fellowship in the year 2015. He is associated for research and writing with several NGOs such as Equations in Bangalore, National Campaign on Dalit Human Rights, as Center for Development of Human Rights based in Delhi. His research and teaching interests include issues in Indian government and politics, with special reference to the working of local self-governments and their relationship with parastatal bodies in India. Dr. Phillip, thank you for being the guest of honor today, and on behalf of the college, staff, and students, a warm welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I start off with the session?
Yes. Yes.
Dr. Solvent? Oh, okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. First of all, I would like to congratulate the department for doing tremendous work. I mean, putting in extra work, especially during this time, difficult time and trying times. And secondly, I would like to thank the principal of the college, head of the Department of Political Science, all students and faculty members for giving me an opportunity, and special mention to Dr. Solvin Matthews for reaching out and giving this opportunity to meet you virtually and share my thoughts on uh, on the title India, a Nation in the Making. So that is the title which has been given. Uh, did not given the title, there's not so much thinking which is needed. Uh, I did not have to think so much what to speak upon. I knew that I wanted to talk about secularism. Secularism is a concept we always think something as a concept. You must be definitely familiar with the concept and the word secularism. You know the preamble. I also saw the video which you guys put in yesterday. I was able to see that, so you definitely understand the word. As a concept, we always think that we feel the concept has been uh, something as old as 300, 400 years old. We always think that the concept is done and dusted, we always feel, but then it never stops to kind of surprise us with the kind of discussions and discourses that happens in the public domain. So that is precisely one reason that secularism I wanted to, within this framework of India and the making of a nation, wanted to discuss the meaning and the essence of secularism is what I wanted to, whatever we have read, we have seen and heard from the past, and wanted to share that with you first. So that is the reason, and one reason of why secularism is significant is that firstly it will be that the political reality itself is something that in the contemporary times, especially post 80s, there has been contestations and contradictions to the concept, which we even initially we had what do you say thought about, or what was as per the inception of the constitution, how it was conceived. There has been in the public domain, even in the academic and in the political, there has been various contestations and contradictions, specifically post 1980s, and that gives us the significance of the concept of secularism. So, secondly, apart from the contemporary importance, secondly, it would also be how, as a nation, we are. Is the multiplicity, the composite culture we try to talk about mostly. Fortunately, unfortunately, there have been contestations, but the multiplicity of religion, languages, caste, creed, culture. So this multiplicity is something that you know about these things, but this is again this point which makes the concept of secularism a bit more, relevant, and gives that tooth and nail. Is supposed to give that tooth and nail. And thirdly, it is not something novel. It's not something that we have invented. Definitely not. The concept is, technically looking at it, it is a Western concept. If you look at the technical origins of it, we can say that 15th, 16th, 17th century is the context, because it is important, pertinent to understand the context of its origin so as to understand the meaning and nature. So it is the 16th and 17th century kind of contestations with the religion and the politics, the kind of politics, individuals, retaliation, or some kind of a confrontation with the dominant role of church is the context, and along with supported with the movements of enlightenment, renaissance, reformation, and not to leave out the growing significance of science, scientific explorations, and technological advancements, which also aided the kind of what we say, the confidence in a rational capacity of a human being. That confidence that the man or individual can have the potential to think about, to deliberate about those aspects, divorced from, separated that from the religious sphere. Man has that capacity to think and deliberate and decide upon for the betterment of human condition itself. So that reliance on the what we call the rationality of human being. So that is the context where we see the kind of growth or origin of the concept of secularism. And in that context, especially in that context, what it, as I was saying, is the meaning that emerges at that point is about separation from the church. Separation, that means the political is getting separated from the church. Individual and the individual's religious freedom or religious sphere or a private sphere is getting demarcated, and there is some kind of a guarantee of neutrality on part of the state, which is emerging in this context, especially in the 16th, 17th century. And also the right, as a right, when you talk about religious right, the right to profess any particular religion also becomes, pertinent in this context. As a right, it takes shape. So this is the juncture where we see that the concept of secularism is unfolding, and it is. But whatever said and done, there is a section of people in this context also looks at it and tries to understand this as a something which is anti-religion. Though it creates, because whatever said and done, there is the journey that secularism as a concept or secularization as a process which has taken shape across the various societies. It is not uniform. It is different. For example, the French type of secularism will be different from that of the Turkish kind of secularism. There are various models of secularism. One is that of the wall of separation, which I was talking about. That is also referring to the direct context in which it has evolved. So recently, not many years ago, you must have also heard about this banning of headscarves and Muslim women's headscarves, also the turbans of Sikh religious believers in France. So that is something which is not a neutral position which the state is taking. It is upfront. It is creating a wall of separation between this state. And when asked about this to a French scholar, there is the scholar was made a remark that public space is as sacred as the religious houses that you go for your religious beliefs. So just like how you remove your footwears when you enter a temple or a mosque or a church, the same way you have to remove, the sense you have to this overt kind of symbolisms and signs of religious identity, you have to keep that separate, aside when you enter into the public domain. So that is one kind of secularism, or one model of secularism that we have seen in the French society. Similarly, there is various other I mean French, I would say, because that is predominantly the Catholic, the Roman Catholic predominance is there. Similarly, in the Islamic countries also, there have been this kind of especially what I was saying slightly sometime back earlier, that the Turkish society also, especially after, if you look at the collapse of Ottoman Empire, and under the aegis of Mustafa, I mean, Mustafa Pasha is one of the leader, the kind of, the ruler or the leader of Turks, he is remarked as. And under him also, there is this concept of secularism, or the wall of separation model of secularism, which emerges when we get to see that. And these are, what I'm trying to say is that there have been various processes of secularization process, and it has not been uniform. And Indian experience, when we talk about secularism, uh, the concept of secular, it has been different, and it is not what we are, it is not the European or exotic concept which we have installed into our constitution. So, Dr. Radhakrishnan gives this statement, which I wanted to read it out. Secularism does not mean atheism or mean irreligion, or proclaims that it lays stress on the universality of spiritual values, which may be attained through a variety of ways. So, which may be attained through variety of ways, and it is that university of spiritual values. So, it Indian context or Indian understanding of secularism is definitely not, it's not an artificial commodity which has been taken from the West and been implanted in the Indian society. So it is completely different, which it is this scholar. There are various scholars who try to term and give shape I mean, try to call it the Indianness in itself, Indianness of the origin and the evolution of the concept of secularism. So there have been. So what I'm trying to say is, what I'm trying to suggest here is that there have been different, and the technical origin and evolution, it has to be understood differently in the Indian context. But coming to understanding of what is the nuance or the meaning now, what we understand, especially uh, prior to the insertion of the word, you know, must be familiar that the word initially of secular was not there in the constitution. It came about only by amendment to the Constitution, only 42nd Amendment Act, 1976. Before that, it doesn't mean that we did not have the spirit of secularism. It came about much later, but the spirit of secularism was there. And on that note, what we understand is that the kind of spirit of secularism conveys is that of a equal status for all individuals in front of the eyes of law. And similarly, there is no special treatment or no special privileges for any particular individual on the basis of any, say, any religion, be it minority, be it majority. There's no special treatment for that matter. So this is the essence of, or what we call in the immediate post-independent period. It is the spirit that this is how we can understand. Moving forward, there is this work which has been given by Donald Eugene Smith in a book called India as a Secular State. In that, he takes a closer look at, or does a closer examination of the concept of secularism, and he finds three distinct relationships. Distinct in the sense they are distinct, but they are closely interrelated and integrated. So first is that of the religion and the individual. That is the first level he looks at it. He tries to understand. That means trying to analyze and give us the true essence of secularism. So first is religion and the individual. So this is the space of individuals' right to religious freedom. For example, in the Constitution also, when we say we look study the fundamental rights, Articles 25, 26, 27, 28. There's areas where the articles are provided, which talks about religious freedom. So that is the kind of section where which talks. from the Indian Constitution's point of view, that is between religion and the individual. Second level is that about the state and the individual. State and the individual, which essentially means citizenship, nothing more. But then the citizenship, as a citizen, what is your right to personal liberty and life? That entails in the second level. And the third one is that of the state and religion. That is the third level of relationship which he is telling us to get the nuance of secularism a bit more clearly. That is the area of separation, where the state and religion has to be separated. So, keeping this in mind, we move to understand there is a scientific way of understanding secularism. Secular concepts also. Now, what we understand is this scientific way of looking at what is a secular state. And a secular state means that a state that recognizes every citizen as equal and does not recognize any social or religious stratifications as vehicles for exercising political rights. So it is not just about recognizing everyone equal, but at the same time, it also does not recognize any social or religious stratification, social and be it majority, minority, or various social differences in the society. It does not give them a sanction for any of the political rights. That is the scientific way of looking at it from the secular state point of view. There is also a projected understanding of secularism. Projected understanding is that it talks about tolerance of, especially in the Indian context, talks about tolerance of all religions, not just religions by the state, but also it is about religion among each other. It's about tolerance. Secondly, while just what I was saying, there is a relationship between religion and individual. There we also see the right for minorities, that is Articles 29 and 30, a section on protection of minorities and educational rights, Articles 29 and 30. So it is this projected understanding of secularism now comes to, tells us that it is also about protection of minorities. And why is this done? This is entirely, the exercise is taken up for the preservation of communal harmony in our society. So this is how we now come to understand secularism in its projected sense in the Indian context. Thus, now we can come to the essence, what it means in short or briefly. What it means, it's separation of religion from politics. There are various experiences of various societies that is different, but nutshell what we can say is separation of religion from politics, acceptance of religion as purely and strictly a private affair of an individual, having nothing to do with the state. So acceptance of religion as only in the private sphere of an individual, that one has to pursue that, one has to profess faith or propagate, all that is in the private individual sphere, and this has to be demarcated. So at the base of it, this is what the meaning of or the essence of irrespective of all the experiences. Now it is also a positive kind of positive kind of concept, not to say that it is a negative concept, because what we see post 80s, what we see is that there are contestations and confrontations that happens, but however initially how it is seen as a potent ideology which has the capacity of social change. Social change is possible, political transformations are possible. That means our democratic institution. Indira Gandhi once remarked that secularism and democracy are the twin pillars of Indian state and society. So that means without which the entire process of nation building, nation in the making, this entire exercise is, what do you say, will become redundant if these are not kept intact. And that is also the reason why by the 70s, it was felt to underline the commitment of state towards secularism, and the word was inserted. Okay, so what I'm saying is giving a sense of characteristics of secularism here is that it is having that potential. It's a potent force, not to look down upon it, and it actually it's an ideal. At the same time, it is also a reality. It can be realized in the society. So it is not a negative concept in that sense. If you talk about post-independent, this is I mean moving a slightly. If I have 5 more minutes, I would just want to give you a sense of post-independent India, and how one way of looking at it is that you divide it into three phases. And what one we understand is the first phase is from the constitution coming to existence and to the first 3 decades up till the 1970s, we can say. It run on that spirit of secularism that I was talking about, like the wisdom and the intellect and the capabilities of the founding fathers of Indian constitution, through which they, without even putting the word, but the essence of secularism was maintained in the constitution. So that that phase was, that is clearly seen as the first phase. Second is the towards the end of 70s, when we can say that the marked by that constitutional amendment, where it was felt necessary to underline, as I said earlier, to reaffirm with the state's commitment towards secularism, and that 42nd Amendment Act was required. And then the third phase, where we see about scholars say that scholars like Paul Brass and all talk about overburdening of secularism. We are expecting too much from secularism in our country. We are overburdening the concept to deliver in our space. So that's the three phases in which we look at Indian kind of Indian version of secularism. It has seen various challenges during that period, but one particular challenge which stands out in all these discourses, or the one which has more weightage in this whole challenges, especially post in the third phase up till now, even contemporary politics, what we see is that there is a strong narrative saying that our society is non-secular. We are not secular by the spirit of it. We do not, this is a foreign thing which has been implanted in the constitution. We are divisive in nature, and it is there. And the response towards that, or the counter challenge towards that, would be to look and revisit in the history of Indian past, because we have had some social movements, some major social movement. We don't have to go anywhere. It's all well documented in the history that some movements like Bhakti movement, Bhakti cult, Sufi movements. Also, along with it, we had rulers like Ashoka, the emperor, Akbar. These were all kind of liberal rulers who had that kind of a tolerant attitude towards society. The movements also, along with these people like Moinuddin Chishti, Kabir, there is Guru Nanak, Tukaram, Mirabai, all these scholars, their expressions, though did not use the word secular, but definitely had this kind of a aspiration for a composite culture. Composite culture, it was definitely there. And also, when we talk about the rulers, as I was mentioning right now, they all had the kind of liberal attitude towards various religions. Akbar's Din Ilahi is one phrase which he uses, where he talks about the divine power, and another phrase which talks about let peace be upon all. So that shows kind of a liberal attitude. And not to mention that, I mean, not to stop there, these scholars, these movements, all had an influence upon the movement, Indian national movement against the British rule. So the movement also encapsulated this kind of a secular spirit in them. And this also finds space in the 1928 Motilal Nehru report, which then becomes part of the Government of India Act of 1935. That then later becomes, or 70% of the Indian Constitution is based upon the Government of India Act of 1935. So I would like to just read out a sentence from the Motilal, that committee report, that there is a section which reads, "There shall be no state religion for the Commonwealth of India or for any province in the Commonwealth, nor shall the state, either directly or indirectly, endow any religion or given each religion any preference or impose any disability on account of religious beliefs or religious status. So this is not through post-independence. This is all encapsulated in the committee report March 1928. So it is not to say that society is divisive, society is divided, we are not secular. It is not true. It has to be countered at certain level. That also means that we need to revisit the concept, both in the academic, the students of political science. We are all students of political science. We have in the political also, in the academic also, the concept uh, has to be revisited. The ideas have to be understood. The uniqueness of Indian secularism has to be understood, and also then it can contribute in the process of nation building. One scholar was once asked, "What are the what is the major challenges of secularism, and how do we counter these challenges that we are suddenly facing in the society?" And his reply was that the counter to secularism, challenges to secularism, is only more secularism. It's more and more secularism is the only option in a modern society to do away with the traditional mentalities, and also to put the rational mind, collective rational mind, in order to come about to a well-meaning society which can deliberate upon the human condition and improve and better that. So I would like to stop here. It is again emphasize and re-emphasize on the concept of secularism and its pivotal position, and it just both, as I was mentioning, academic and political. It is the requirement of the time that we need to engage more and enhance the concept of secularism much more. I would like to stop on this note. Hope that helps. Dr. Solvin, are you there?
Yes, Dr. Philip, would you like to take questions? Does anybody have questions?
I think your voice is not coming. 1 second. Yeah.
Does anyone have questions?
Yeah. Can you just speak?